Guys, welcome everybody. It's Chris Cox. It's been a little while. I've had some personal things going on and just kind of had to take a little bit of a break from the lessons, but it feels really good to be back. And we got to start it off with a Kiss guitar lesson, so we're going to go all the way back to the very first album and do Firehouse. Now I'm going to show you the studio album version, not the Alive 1 version, so the solo is slightly different. It's a little shorter. The tuning for this is E flat, however, it's not going to be exactly E flat, so you're going to have to do some fine tuning if you want to play along with the album. I've actually tuned to the album, so I'm going to give you guys a low E so that you'll be able to tune to that without any trouble. So here's a low E. So let's go ahead and get started with that introduction riff. Let's go over that part. So we're going to start off with just a A5 power chord. That's just going to be, I call them one finger chord. So you're just going to basically put your first finger on the second fret of the D and play the open A string. If you wanted to add that extra A note on the G string, second fret of the G, you could. Sometimes makes it a little bigger sounding, but it sounds like this slow. So we're doing this little kind of like almost, it kind of sounds kind of bluesy, but these are intervals. And intervals are, basically just the distance between two different notes. So we're not really playing a third note in there, so I'm not really going to consider it a chord, I guess. But basically, this would be a minor third interval. So when you hit that A, you're going to come here to the fourth fret of the D. First finger is going to be on the second fret of the G and play a, and you're just playing the D and the G, so it's, now you're going to move that same shape down a whole step, which is 2 frets, so your ring finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the D, 4th fret of the G is your first finger, so it sounds like this slow. So you're just basically switching back and forth in that chord. So A5, back to here, and then we're going to come back to the A5 and do it. And that would be kind of like a real common blues lick there. So you're just playing 2 downstrokes here on the A5, and then you're going to grab here on the 4th fret of the D and play A and D together, and then come back. A. So we have this so far. Now we're going to come all the way down here to the 7th fret, and we're going to kind of bar our first finger across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B string. We're going to do this. Now this is actually a G major chord. It's just the way the notes of the G major chord are in a different order than usual. So what you're doing, you bar across the 7th fret of the D, G, B. You're going to have your middle finger here on the 8th fret of the B string, and then you're going to have your mid ring finger here is going to be coming back and doing this on the 9th fret. So we first play this with ring finger on the 9th, and of course the middle finger on the 8th, but you're going to be lifting these 2 fingers up and go and back to the A5. So let's play that again slow. So it starts with this, that much, and then up. playing that, you can play this as the 7th fret of the D string, 9th fret of the G, and you can add that open A in there too. And then goes back again and plays. Now, there is a little lead guitar part there that is a little fill that Ace does, and he just does a right before we go into that main riff of the song. So that's going to be here on the 7th fret of the G string, and you're just doing a full bend, but you're doing that really wide Ace Frehley vibrato, so you're doing a So let's talk about the vibrato. If this is something that I think vibrato is probably the most difficult technique to learn on the guitar. For me, it is anyway. Or was. So it still is sometimes. It's so easy to want to do everything from your fingertips and not from your wrist and forearm. So if you can kind of see when we hit that up there. A lot of it's coming from a rocking motion of my wrist. I'm going to turn a little bit and show you guys from this angle. Do that again. Now, so this is going to be the main riff of the song, which is right before the verses. So it's a So hit the A5, well, we've already learned, open A string, 2nd fret of the D. You can add that A note on the 2nd fret of the G if you want, and it's just a, so it's G, open E, G, open E. Oops, play that again, that kind of sounded bad. Then we come back down to that G major chord we learned earlier and play the exact same thing. And come back to the A5. Repeat that again. Jump down to that G major chord pretty quick. When the verses, it's just 2 down strums on the A5. Come back down here and play that back to the A5. Now we have this little another guitar fill, and it goes. Sorry about that. Play that again for you. So let's go over that part. So we're going to be here on the 11th fret of the B string, and then again using that really wide Ace Frehley vibrato that is just awesome. We do a and then when you do that last part, you're doing a you're pulling off from 11 to 8 on the B, so it's and then we do this. Come right back really quick to the 10th fret of the G. And then you're going to do the same kind of thing with the G, or it's not a G, it's an actual F note, but it's the G string on the 10th fret, and do a. And then you're going to do that same bend up, pull off, and come back to the 10th fret of the D string. So play this very slow again. do this. So we're gonna play the G in high E string. We're not gonna play the B string. So the B string is just gonna be muted. We're gonna leave it alone, and we're gonna slide into this. So that's gonna be from 6 to 7. And you're going to let these notes ring out. So we slide from 6 to 7 on the G. And then you're going to grab the 6th fret of the high E. And you're going to slide to this. That's going to be 7 to 8. But this time, you're going to be grabbing the 8th fret of the G, 8th fret of the high E. So we have... And then you're going to just move that shape right down one more fret. That's going to be 9 on the G, 9 on the high E. So together, slowly. And that's going to be a B5 chord here on the 7th fret of the low E, 9th fret of the A string. We do it two down strums, and then finish on the E5, which is 7th fret of the A, and that's going to be 9th fret of the D. So we go back into the second verse. Changes just a little bit. I should say probably the hardest part of that riff is just being from here and jumping really quick down to here. So that might take some time, you know, just, you know, when you practice this stuff, I mean, it's just something I've done for years. I always used a metronome, and I always set that sucker down to where, you know, when I can play this, even if it's super, super slow, I'm in time. Sometimes I think when we don't have something like this keeping our timing, we just, you know, we're I don't know, I'm not saying everybody's timing's off. Lord knows mine is too sometimes. But when you play with something that gives you a beat to keep, you know, so let's just say that I had that thing really slow. Let's see if I can tap. So I know that I can play up to that tempo, and I can play that fairly clean. But let's say I jump that up 5 clicks, and I'm just not able to grab that G major chord that's so hard to get to. Then we need to back off and work in that area, get to where it's really, you know, you really shouldn't feel a whole lot of tension in your hands when you're doing this. So if you feel like you're gripping too hard, or you're pushing too hard down on the strings, or you're noticing, you know, fatigue in your palms or your forearms or anything like that, probably means that you're just digging in a little too hard and you got too much tension in your hand. So the less tension in your hand, the more clean you're going to play as a guitar player. So let's get a beat going again. I'll even go slower. Promise you, if you start incorporating some practice time with the metronome and just inch that sucker up a little bit at a time, when you can play it, let's just say we're at 100 clicks a minute, when you can play it nice and clean, 100 clicks a minute, jump it up to 101 or 102 and see how it feels. If it feels good and you're like, yeah, I'm still playing clean, go ahead and jump up to 103, and then gradually get it up to tempo. It will make such a huge difference in your playing. You'll get kind of an internal clock, you know, so that when you play with other musicians or a drummer or along with a record, which is a great way to practice, is playing along with the record. So again, went off on a tangent there. Sorry, guys. So when we come back to that second verse, when we do the, I think it basically, we're back into the, nothing changes except we're doing this little riff, and that's just, that's going to be here on the 2nd fret of the A, which is a C note. You're doing a, so play the note, stop it, and then play 3rd fret A, and then open A, and then you do a 3rd fret of the E, and open E. Now, I don't think it does it on the next pass, but it's like every other time. Yeah, right here. Time. Then we go into this will be technically, I guess, the 3rd fill, and it's the same. We're doing that same kind of lick that we did earlier. Oops. You can tell it's been a little while since I did a lesson, so let's try that again. I'll try not to mess it up for you guys. Let's go again. There we go. So we're doing again kind of sliding into that note that started that last fill. So that's going to be a slide from 7 to 8 on the G. Of course, you're grabbing the 6th fret of the high E, let those ring, and then you're going to slide this time up. So that's going to be this. It's the same shape, just a whole step up. So this is going to be, or down, either how you want to look at it. 5th fret of the G, 4th fret of the high E, and then that's going to be 3rd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the high E, and then you're doing the same thing as we did earlier, except it's in a different position. This is a B5, and that's an E5, just in a different spot on the fretboard. That's going to be 2nd fret of the A string, 4th fret of the D, and you do a 2, stop it, and then play the E5, which is 2nd fret of the D, 4th fret of the G. So it's so the first one was, second one, oops, if I can play it for you guys. We're back into the chorus. Same thing we learned earlier. This we do now. I'm going to show you what the Ace is playing a solo line behind these chords. So I'm going to show you the chords first, and then we'll go to the solo line. So it's oops, it starts with B. So that's just B5. And then, so that what we've already learned, that's 2nd fret of the A, 4th fret of the D. And that's going to be an E5, so just open E, 2nd fret of the A. F5, 1st fret of the low E, 3rd fret of the A. And then we finish on G. Now underneath the guitar solo, we're just doing that same riff. Same thing if you want to just play that. But right before we do the I'll play the skin. Goes one more time. Here's the melody he plays, chord, so it's this is the melody he plays under the chords. So let's talk about that. So that's, again, if you want to play the chords under that, that's perfectly fine. But he's doing a bend here on the 9th fret of the G, and it's just coming back to the 7th fret of the G. So we're on the 9th, we strike the note, and that's going to be 9, 7 to 7 on the D string. Now this one, the bend's going to be on the 11th fret of the G to the 9th fret of the G, and then 9th fret of the D. So we have this. Move all that same lick down 1 fret or up. Now that's going to be on the 12th as the bend of the G to the 10th of the G, and then the 10th of the D. So we have and then we come down here to so that bend is going to be on the 14th fret of the G. So you bend up, let it back down, 12th fret of the G, and then you're going to be here on the 13th fret of the B, and you're going to bend up and add that killer slow wide vibrato. One more time. So that very first note, we're going to be here on the 7th fret of the G, and we do a so what kind of crazy technique is he doing there? So he first bends up, and he's basically so he's picking the note and then kind of percussively coming back and muting the note. So it's like a and he does that a lot in this solo. That might take you a little while to get used to that, because you're going to kind of want to go, but you want to actually play it very staccato way. So now when you do this, you bend that 7th fret of the G string up. When you bend that up, you're slowly letting that note down, so you go when you finally get back down to the original D note, back to the pitch, you're going to play, and that's going to be 5th fret of the G to 7th fret of the D. So we have now we're going to do this. That's going to be 2 hammer-ons. The first one's going to be from 6 to 7 on the A, and then you get from 5 to 7 on the D. I play it kind of like this. So right before I hit this note, I hit a basically a muted note before I fret that. So that's going to be here on the 5th fret of the G. And you're going to come to 7th fret of the D and pull off. And that's going to be a pull off from 7 to 5. And then play another hammer on. So we have this so far. We'll play this. That's kind of a hard. It's a very kind of a tough technique to learn. He's basically doing the same thing he did on that very first note. He's doing it. So it's very rhythmic. It's very percussive almost. So in between that, you're gonna have to have, you're gonna have to mute with the side of your pick, like we showed earlier. But you're gonna have to kind of let up off of these notes too. So you don't want constant pressure on this note. So if you do, you can kind of see it's not the same. You have to, and then let up off that note. And then let up off that note. Oops. And that's just going to be from 7 to the A, 5 to the A, 3rd of the A. So let's go back slowly. This. Now that riff repeats twice, so it's some of the same things we did kind of earlier. So you're going to hammer on from 6 to 7 on the A, and then here on the G note, which is the 5th fret of the D, you're doing that same thing. Then you're doing a hammer on from 5 to 7. Repeat that again. Then we come back up to here. And then it changes just a little bit on this. I forgot. So it's, so yes, when you do this, it's going to be a little bit shorter. You do the same bend up, same technique. So it's, so you're kind of letting that down fast and do it up. And that's going to be 7 to 5 again, and then you're going to finish here on the 8th fret of the B. So. Then it goes back into the same melody. Goes back into the another fill. So that's going to be a bend here on the 7th fret again, back in that A minor pentatonic. We're doing a so bend up and stop, and then come back to the 7, go to the 5, and do a, that's going to be a hammer on from 6 to 7 on the A, and then finish on the D, and then back into the chorus out. There's one more riff. Stop and play this. So that's the last riff. So it's basically going to be from the 5th fret of the D, shift to the 4th fret, to the 2nd fret, open D, then hammer from 2 to 4. This. So hammer, back to the 2, go back in again.